Hello there, hi there, ho there. Let's see if I can get this to work right. Okay, good. So, hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome to reading Machiavelli's Discourses. Today we're looking at the preface. We're starting book one, and book one has a preface. So we're going to be looking at the preface for the first book. So let's turn to it. It's very short. It's like two. I think it's like two paragraphs, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's two paragraphs. It's not that long. But I'm going to have to move the screen a little bit when we go from the other paragraph to this paragraph. So here's the first paragraph here. Preface. Although the envious nature of man has always made it no less dangerous to find new modes and orders than to seek unknown waters and lands, because men are more ready to blame them to praise the actions of others. Nevertheless, driven by the desire, that natural desire that has always been in me to work without any respect for those things I believe that will bring common benefit, for the things I believe will bring common benefit to everyone, I have decided to take a path not yet untrodden by anyone. And if it brings me trouble and difficulty, it would also bring me reward through those who can consider humanely the end of these labors of mine. In other words, okay. The envious nature of man has always made it no less dangerous to find new things. In other words, there's a lot in this first sentence. There's a lot going on here. One, the argument, he's introducing something new. He's going to be the introduction of new modes and orders. In other words, anyone who wants to discover or find new modes in order, new ways of doing things, new paths. In other words, the new modes and orders. This short phrase. What are modes and orders? It's ways, paths of doing things, and orders are structures, things. Now, this is interesting. That unknown waters and land, discovery of the new world going on. I remember Amerigo Vespucci, who plays a very important role in helping finance and going with Columbus, the discovery of the New World, and his own later expeditions. He was very much tied, to his nephew working in the Florentine office was a friend of Machiavelli's, so therefore a cousin of his who Amerigo Vespucci would write to. Machiavelli knew he was worked in Amerigo worked for the Medici banks, the banks, the Florentine banks, and even though, but his nephew, or not nephew, maybe, or cousin, whom he wrote to, worked with Machiavelli or was within Machiavelli's circle, so he knew about the discoveries of the New World in a sense firsthand. And what Machiavelli says that this is no much. In other words, he's equating what he's doing here with what Columbus and Vespucci and others are doing in exploring the world, introducing new world. This is no less dangerous, right? And he says that why? Because men are more ready to blame rather than praise the actions of others. But he said, but because it's natural, it's driven by a natural desire that's with him, to benefit others. In other words, there is a natural desire not only to seek glory, but also to benefit others. Bring common benefit to everyone. That I have decided to take the path of untrodden, the road untrodden by anyone, this new path. And if it brings me trouble and difficulty, it would also, yes, it will, because it's a new thing. It's going to become, people be jealous, people are going to be doing, it's going to bring difficulty, but at the same time, it's going to bring great rewards. those who consider humanely the ends. Why am I doing this? Now, he said, next sentence. If poor talent, little experience of present things, and weak knowledge of ancient things makes this attempt of mine defective and not much of utility, it will at least show the path to someone whom with more virtue and more discourse and judgment will be able to fulfill this intention of mine, which it will, if it will not bring me praise, then it ought not to incur me blame, right? This idea of praise and blame. The first paragraph is of the Preodium, right? Does not appear to be in the first two editions of Discourse as we found it, the polished form. Only surviving autographic fragment is a discourse of the discourse opinion is divided as to whether it is provisional or definitive, right? This is the whole question of this weird. A lot of editions don't put it in it, but this preface, this proemium, is a provisional. But it's a very interesting thing here. I think it offers us a kind of perception of what's going on here. Not to incur blame, not to do this. So even if I have poor talent, it's not going to, but it will lead others to do it. Okay, so so therefore, if it does not bring me praise, I will not be blamed for doing this. Now he's also making fun of himself because in many ways his little experience of present things. Okay, why? Because he's been blocked from political life. Okay. In other words, his knowledge of ancient things is not as good as this. So it's maybe someone with better knowledge than him, a better understanding of these things, may offer a better work. But this work will be a guide to them in that sense. Considering how much honor is awarded to antiquity, and how many times, letting pass infinite other examples, a fragment of the ancient statue has been brought at a high price because someone wants to have it near oneself, to honor his house with it, and to be able to have it intimated by those who delight in that art, and how the latter then strives with all industry to represent it in all their works, and seeing, on the other hand, that the most virtuous works, the histories show us, which has been done by ancient kingdoms and republics, by kings, captains, citizens, and legislators, and others who have labored for their fatherland, are rather admired than imitated. In other words, they're admired but not imitated. Indeed, they are so much shunned by everyone in every least thing that no sign of that ancient virtue remains with us. So in other words, it's shunned. The ancient writers, in other words, these other people, they will go hunt down a statue or something of this, and they want to be with it, but at the same time, the great works of these captains, in other words, that have been done by ancient kingdoms and republics, by kings, captains, citizens, and legislatures, and others who have labored for the fatherland, have not. They may be admired, but they're not imitated, and they're rather shunned by them. And there's no virtue of what was this. I can and do no other than marvel and grieve. In other words, he says that he doesn't understand why we are not paying attention to these. We praise them, we admire them, but we don't look to them and imitate them. Okay. Rather, that's because we have no sign of the urchin virtue remains in us, he says. and so much more when I see that in the differences that arise between citizens and civil affairs, or in the sickness that men incur, they always have recourse to those judgments or those remedies that were judged or ordered by the ancient. In other words, he makes it very interesting. Civil affairs and illness. You could always, in other words, for illness, you could always look at the great works of previous medicine, right? And you can look at those and say, oh, there's, and also for civic affairs, we can see the same, that the ills of civic affairs and the ills of the body, we have ancient knowledge we can look towards and learn from, right? They have always recourse to those judgments or those remedies that were judged or ordered by the ancients. For the civil laws are nothing other than the verdicts given by the ancient jurors, which reduced to order teach our present jurors to judge. In other words, what are the in other words, for civil laws, there's nothing other than the verdicts given by the old ancients in that sense, in which were reduced to order, teach our present jurors to judge. Nor is medicine other than the experiments performed by ancient physicians, on which present physicians found their judgments. Nevertheless, in ordering republics, maintaining states, governing kingdoms, or ordering the military and administering war, judging subjects, and increasing empire, neither prince nor republic may be found that has recourse to the examples of the ancient. In other words, however, now even though that we look at the law and we look at medicine, we have recourse to the ancients, and they do have recourse to the ancients, and they rely on the. But in ordering republics, maintaining states, governing kingdoms, ordering military and administering war, judging subjects and increase empire, right? Either a prince or republic may be found that has resource to, may be found to have resource in those examples of the ancients, right? This arises, I believe, not so much from the weakness into which the present religion has led the world. In other words, it's not so much the weakness of the present religion has led the world, or that the evil that an ambitious idleness has done to many Christian provinces and cities. So it's not that religion has done this, that we have, present religion has led the world into this weakness, or that that evil ambition of idleness has done to many idleness of Christian provinces and cities, as from the not having a true knowledge of the histories. In other words, they don't have a real good knowledge of the histories, though not getting through not getting from reading them that sense nor tasting that flavor that they have in themselves. In other words, not reading the histories. In other words, he's saying the problem is we don't read the histories in a way to take them seriously and try to learn from them. That to what? To understand them as they understand themselves. In that sense, that that not having true knowledge of the histories, but through not getting from reading from them that sense, nor tasting the flavor that they have in themselves. Understanding them in themselves, understanding the experience that was being portrayed here. So, in other words, treating them as kind of like, oh, interesting, nice things, interesting, but oh, I respect you, but not engaging in them to understand them on their own terms and to understand what they have to teach. From this, it arises that the infinite number of who read them take pleasure in hearing of the varieties of accidents contained in them, without thinking of imitating them, judging that imitation is not only difficult but impossible, as if heaven, sun, elements, men had varied in their motions and orders and powers from what they were in antiquity. In other words, we read them. This is the sin of a lot of classicists and historians. We look at it and think, oh, this is an interesting thing. Let's be entertained by this. Not that these things have something to teach us, and that we could imitate them. In other words, we could learn from them and learn from them in order to do in our world. We assume that there's that the things and way of antiquity are completely different in ours. Notice we hear this restraint all the time. Well, we're more modern. We understand. You can't go use that stuff because that has no relevance for us. We're modern. We're more enlightened. The world history has changed. Things are different. Nonsense. That's one of the lies we tell ourselves. And we how much better and wiser than, it's interesting, what curiosity. So we approach it to kind of be entertained and we're only, this is what's wrong with academic scholarship to some degree. It only looks at these things for the purposes of, this is how those people did things. So if you're interested in understanding those people, then you can study these things. But it has no relevance to us now. Things are different, and our world is more complicated than theirs. Okay. Now the question is, there may be true to some. We have different things, and there might be differences. But regarding the things that are the same, that are constant and universal, and the things that are similar, or then wouldn't their knowledge be useful to have? Oh, but everyone has it already. No, that's the problem. Is we lose there's an ignorance of the past. We like it for its shininess and it's ancient and it's cute, but not because it's offering us something. Okay. Let's go this. Wishing therefore to turn men from this error, I have judged it necessary to write on all those books of Titus Livy that have not been intercepted by the malignity of time. In other words, we're going to look at the books that have not been lost, right? By the times, malignity of the times, intercepted by the malignity of the bad fortune, for the times of the magnanimity of fortune, right? The times wherever I shall judge necessary for their greater understanding, according to knowledge of ancient and modern things. Again, in other words, he's going to merge the wisdom, knowledge of ancient things and modern things, so that those who read these statements of mine can more easily draw from them that utility for which one should seek knowledge of history. In other words, this is wonderful for Machiavelli. Why do we read histories? Why do we turn to the histories? In fact, this is what David Starkey constantly tells us. We don't study Tudor history because we want to understand the past. I want them interesting that there's these interesting stories that are so alien to us. But no, they have things to teach us about our lives and our world. History, in other words, you study history. You study history to understand the world we live in and understand the choices, how to make the choices, to get, not to make the mistakes they made or to get the benefits that they received. Learn from them and use and learn how to make the judgments that they made and imitate them in that sense. Imitation of them. In other words, more easily draw from them the utility, in other words, a knowledge of this, and read these statements of mine. In other words, let's go this to run things, and that those who read these statements of mine can more easily draw from them utility for which I should seek knowledge of the histories, right? Although this enterprise may be difficult, it's a very difficult enterprise, and this is a new order, new way of doing it. Nonetheless, and it's a difficult enterprise, as difficult as going on those sea voyages. It's a recovery. In other words, he's engaging a recovery of the ancient things, and for the purposes not to know them merely on their own terms, but for their usefulness for our lives now. He is not interested in a kind of a going to the past to understand and appreciate the past on its own terms, but rather looking at the past so how it can help us now. Although this enterprise may be difficult, nonetheless, aided by those who have encouraged me to accept this burden, I believe I can carry it far enough so that the short road will remain for another to bring it to the. So even if I don't even if I don't do it well, even if I don't do it perfectly, even if it's not done beautifully by me, again, ending that, this repeating the theme, how he ends the previous chapter, the paragraph in that sense, that some other person may take this, a person better skilled, more knowledgeable, better judgment, and more successful, maybe better understanding of both our current circumstances and the ancient experience, so that we can better do this. This is how he ends this. And I can get to the desired place, that we have more knowledge. This is how he ends this preface. So let's stop here. If you have any comments or questions or things, please put them below. I appreciate that people will do that in that sense. If you liked it, hit the like button. Please hit the like button. If you didn't like it, you can say no, don't like. But say why in the comments. Another thing you can do is share it on social media, share it with your friends. It helps the algorithm and that thing. Another thing you can do is to subscribe and encourage others to subscribe. If you want to know more about me, you can check out my social media links below. And if you want to know about my scholarship and other things like that, please go check out the scholarship. If you want to help me in some way, you can do so through the subscribe to our Patreon member below, or through you buying one of my books that are listed below. You can buy it any way you want in that sense. I appreciate you being with us. We'll continue next time continuing book 1. We'll look at chapter 1, the first chapter. Okay, take care and have a great day. See you later. Bye-bye.